Welcome to Hallow English, a place where your fear of speaking finally starts to fade and your confidence begins to grow. If you've ever understood English but struggled to speak, if words get stuck in your mind when you need them the most, then you're exactly where you need to be. This channel is not about perfect grammar or complicated rules. It's about helping you actually speak in a simple, natural, and stress-free way. Here, you'll learn step by step using methods that your brain truly understands, so you can stop translating and start expressing. Take a deep breath. You're not behind, you're just getting started. And from today, you're not learning alone. Let me tell you something most people never realize. English is not a subject, it's a skill. And this small misunderstanding is the real reason you feel stuck. In school, you were taught English like a theory, rules, tenses, something to memorize using your memory system. But speaking doesn't come from memory. It comes from your habit system, the automatic part of your brain that works without thinking. That's why even after years of studying, when it's time to speak, your mind freezes. It's not because you don't know English, it's because your brain was trained the wrong way. It's like trying to learn swimming by reading a book. You understand everything, but the moment you enter the water, your body doesn't know what to do. And there's something deeper happening inside you. That fear you feel when speaking, that hesitation, that urge to stay silent. It's not weakness, it's your brain trying to protect you from embarrassment, from judgment, from making mistakes in front of others. Your brain thinks silence is safer than trying. But here's the truth you need to hear. You didn't fail at learning English. Your method failed you. I still remember that moment, standing there, knowing the answer, feeling it clearly in my mind. But when it was my turn to speak, nothing came out. It was like my voice just disappeared. People were looking at me, waiting, some with curiosity, some with quiet judgment, and some just silent, which somehow felt even heavier. Inside my head, I kept repeating, I know this answer, so why can't I say it? My heart was racing, my thoughts were loud, but my words were missing. And in that moment, it didn't matter how much I had studied, how many rules I had memorized. I felt completely stuck, small, exposed. I tried to say something, anything, but it came out broken, incomplete, and I could feel the shift in the room. That slight change in people's expressions. It stayed with me. And that day, something inside me quietly gave up. Not because I didn't care, not because I didn't want to improve, but because I was tired. Tired of trying and failing. Tired of knowing but not being able to express. Tired of feeling stupid every time I opened my mouth. So I stopped trying. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silently. The way most people do. And then something unexpected happened. I found Chatgpt, not as a tool, not as a teacher, but as a space where I could finally breathe. There was no pressure, no one watching, no fear of being judged. For the first time, I could make mistakes without fear. I could write a sentence, say it wrong, try again, and nothing bad happened. Slowly, something inside me started to relax. Psychologically, this changed everything. When there is no judgment, your anxiety drops, and when anxiety drops, your brain becomes open to learning. Every time I made a mistake, I got instant feedback, which helped my brain correct itself faster. And because I could practice any time as much as I wanted, repetition became easy, not boring. It didn't feel like studying anymore, it felt like growing. And that's when I realized something powerful. My brain was never the problem, it just needed a safe place, and finally it felt safe enough to learn. And then the change started to show, not in big dramatic moments, but in small wins that quietly meant everything to me. The first time I spoke a full sentence without stopping, it felt different. The first time I replied confidently without overthinking, I noticed something had shifted. These moments may seem small to others, but for me, they were proof that something inside was changing. Slowly, I stopped translating every word in my head and started thinking directly in English, naturally, without forcing it. And that's when the biggest transformation happened, not just in my language, but in my identity. I stopped seeing myself as someone who is struggling to learn English and started seeing myself as someone who actually speaks it. And once that belief changed, everything else followed. There's something important you need to understand, something that can save you years of frustration. You don't need perfect grammar to start speaking. You don't need expensive courses to become fluent, and you definitely don't need some special talent that others have and you don't. That belief is what keeps most people stuck. What you really need is much simpler, but also much more powerful. You need a safe space where you can practice without fear, where making mistakes is not something to avoid, but something to learn from. You need daily repetition, not for hours, but with consistency, showing up again and again so your brain can slowly adapt. And most importantly, you need patience, because real change doesn't happen instantly. It builds quietly over time. If you can focus on these three things, you'll realize that progress is not as far away as it once felt. If you've been feeling stuck, like no matter how much you try, something is holding you back. If you've been doubting yourself, questioning whether you'll ever speak confidently, if you've ever stayed silent in a moment where you truly wanted to express yourself, then this is for you. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not someday when you feel ready, but today, exactly as you are right now. You don't need to wait for confidence. You build it by starting. So take a small step. Open Chatgpt and say your first sentence, even if it's simple, even if it's not perfect, because that one step is more powerful than all the waiting you've been doing. And remember this, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from courage, from everything you've already been through. And I want you to be part of this journey, not alone, but together. So tell me, what's one sentence you've always been afraid to say? Write it down, share it, and let this be the day things begin to change. Because you're not alone in this. We're doing it together.